Hello, and reaching down for prop. Merry Christmas. Yes, this is our Christmas episode. Which Christmas? Don't ask. But it's definitely Christmas when we're recording this for release of another Christmas in the future. And yes, this time we are doing... We've actually already done a second look on this once upon a time, but we didn't actually record it because that was a slightly more drunken Christmas party that we recorded that one at, and I don't think anyone was in a fit state. But this time everyone seems to be remarkably sober for our Christmas party at which we're recording this for our presentation of Christmas His Masque, as it was presented at court in December 1616. And we have a wonderful set of readers who are going to be working their way through the text. As it's a masque, we have made some alterations. We have turned a lot of the songs into effectively split-up dialogue, but amongst all the supernumeraries, they wouldn't actually have said quite a lot of what they've got down there. There's a certain amount of additional reportage. Some of the stage directions have been turned into dialogue, so it has been lightly adapted. It's based in part on an adaptation that Sarah produced for us a while back. And yeah, so it's not... all the words are there, just not necessarily in the right... The right person. I wasn't going to say the right order. I haven't changed the order or anything. But anyway, it is a good approximation of the shape of what Christmas His Masque was like by Ben Jonson, of course. So we're going to start in a moment. Christmas is going to come on and say some wonderful words. Enter Christmas with 2 or 3 of the guard. He is attired in round hose, long stockings, a close doublet, a high-crowned hat with a brooch, a long thin beard... Never mind. A truncheon, little ruffles, white shoes, his scarves and garters tied cross, and his drum... Never mind. His drum beaten before him.
Professional to his boots. Why, gentlemen, do you know what you do? Ha! Would you have kept me out? Christmas, old Christmas, Christmas of London, and Captain Christmas, pray you, be brought before my Lord Chamberlain. I'll not be answered else. 'Tis merry in hall when beards wag all. I have seen the time you have wished for me for a merry Christmas, and now ye hammy they would not let me in. I must come another time. A good jest, as if I could come more than once a year. Why, I am no dangerous person. And so I told my friends of the guard. I am old Gregory Christmas still, and though I come out of Pope's Head Alley, as good a Protestant as any in my parish. The truth is, I have brought a masque here, out of the city of my own making, and to present it by a set of my sons that come out of the lanes of London. Good dancing boys all. It was intended, I confess, for Currier's Hall, but because the weather has been open and the livery were not at leisure to see it till the frost came that they cannot work, I thought it convenient, with some little alterations, and the groom of the revels had to it, to fit it for a higher place, which I have done. And though I say it another manner of devise than your New Year's night, bones of bread, the king, son Roland, son Clem, be ready there in a trice. Quick, boys! Here come my sons and daughters, led in by Cupid, in his flat cap and apprentice's coat, and wings at his shoulders. Present yourselves, boys.
I am Misrule, in a velvet cap with a sprig, a short cloak, great yellow ruff like a reveller, my torchbearer bearing a rope, a cheese, and a basket.
Carol, a long tawny coat with a red cap and a flute at my girdle, my torchbearer carrying a songbook open.
I, Minced-pie, like a fine cook's wife dressed neat, my man carrying a pie, dish, and spoons.
Gambol, like a tumbler with a hoop and bells, my torchbearer armed with a cowl staff and a blinding cloth.
I post and pair, with a pair of royal aces in my hat, and my garments all done over with pears and purrs, my square carrying a box, cards and counters.
In a blue coat serving man like I am a New Year's gift, with an orange and a sprig of rosemary gilt on my head, my hat full of brooches, with a collar of gingerbread, my torch-bearer carrying a marchpane with a bottle of wine on either arm.
I am mumming in masking pied suit, with a visor, my torchbearer carrying the box and ringing it.
Wassall! Like a neat sempster and songster. My page bearing a brown bowl, dressed with ribbons, and rosemary before me.
I am an offering, in a short gown, with a porter's staff in my hand, a withe borne before me, and a basin by my torch-bearer.
Baby cake am I, dressed like a boy in a fine long coat, big and bib, muck-ender, and a little dagger. My usher bearing a great cake with a bean and a peas.
Now God preserve, as ye well do deserve.
Your Majesty's all too there.
Your Highness small, with my good lords all.
And ladies, how do you do there?
Give me leave to ask, for I bring you a masque.
From little London.
Which say the king likes. I have passed the pikes. If not, old Christmas is undone.
Here's one of Friday Street would come in.
By no means, nor out of neither of the fish streets admit not a man. They are not Christmas creatures. Fish and fasting days, pho! Sons, said I well, look to't.
Nobody out of Friday Street, nor the two fish streets there, do you hear?
John Buttermilk Street come in? Ask him.
Yes, he may slip in for a torchbearer, so he melts not too fast, that he will last till the mask be done.
Right, son.
Our dances straight is a matter of 8, and 2 the which are wenches.
In all they be 10, 4 cocks to a hen, and will swim to the time like tenches.
Each hath his night for to carry his light, which some would say are torches.
To bring them here, and to lead them there, and home again to their own porches.
Now all
the lords bless me, where am I, Tro? Where is Cupid? Serve the king? They may serve the cobbler well enough, some of them, for any courtesy they have, wis. They had need o' mending. Unrude people they are, your courtiers. Here was thrust upon thrust indeed. Was it ever so hard to get in before, Trow?
How now? What's the matter?
A place, forsooth. I do want a place. I would have a good place to see my child act in before the king and queen's majesties, God bless them, tonight.
Why, here is no place for you.
Right, forsooth. I am Cupid's mother. Cupid's own mother, forsooth. Yes, forsooth, I dwell in Pudding Lane. I, forsooth, he is prentice in Love Lane, with a bugle maker that makes of your bobs and bird bolts for ladies.
Good Lady Venus of Pudding Lane, you must go out for all this.
Yes, forsooth, I can sit anywhere, so I may see Cupid act. He is a pretty child, though I say it that perhaps should not, you will say. I had him by my first husband. He was a smith, forsooth. We dwelt in Doolittle Lane then. He came a month before his time, and that may make him somewhat imperfect, but I was a fishmonger's daughter.
No matter for your pedigree, your house, good Venus. Will you depart?
Aye, forsooth, he'll say his part, I warrant him, as well as e'er a playboy of them all. I could have had money enough for him, and I would have been tempted, and have let him out by the week to the king's players. Master Burbage has been about and about with me, and so has old Master Hemmings too. They had need of him. Where is he, Troa? I would fain see him. Pray God, they have given him some drink since he came here.
Ready, boys, strike up. Nothing will drown this noise but a drum apiece. Yet I have not done. Now their intent is above to
Why,
present.
here be half of the properties forgotten, father.
Post and pair wants his purr chops and his purr dogs.
Have you never son at the groom porters to beg or borrow a pair of cards quickly?
It shall not he need. Here's your son Cheater without, has cards in his pocket.
Odds so. Speak to the guard to let him in under the name of a property.
And here's New Year's gift has an orange and rosemary, but not a clove to stick in it.
Why, let one go to the spicery.
Fie, it's not. It's not, boys.
What? I have cloves. If it be cloves you want. I have cloves in my purse. I never go without one in my mouth.
And mumming has not his visor neither.
No matter, his own face shall serve for a punishment, and 'tis bad enough. Has Wassall her bowl and Minced-pie her spoons?
Aye, but Misrule doth not like his sweet. He says the players have lent him one too little on purpose to disgrace him.
Let him hold his peace, and this disgrace will be the less. What? Shall we proclaim where we were furnished? Mum! Peace, be ready, good boys. Now their intent is above to present with all the appurtenances a right Christmas as of old it was, to be gathered to the dances which they do bring, and for the king, the prince, and queen, as it were now draw here by love, who over and above doth draw himself hither gear.
Drum, sauce for a coney. No more of your martial music, even for the sake of the next new state, for there I do mean to use it.
And now to ye, who in place are to see, with roll and fardingale hoot, I pray you know, though he want his bow, by the wings that this is Cupid, he might go back for to cry what you lack, but that were not so witty. His cap and coat are enough to note that he is the love of a city.
And he leads on, though he now be gone, for that was his only misrule. But now comes in Tom of Bosom's Inn, and he presenteth Misrule, which you may know by the very show, albeit you never ask it. For there you may see what his ensigns be, the rope, the cheese, and the basket.
This Carroll plays, and has been in his days, a chirping boy and a killpot. Kit Cobbler it is, I'm a father of his, and he dwells in the lane called Philpot.
But who is this? Oh, my daughter's sis, Mince-pie. With her do not dally, on pain of your life. She's an honest cook's wife, and comes out of Scalding Alley.
Next in the trace comes Gambol in place, and to make my tale the shorter, my son Hercules, ta'en out of Distaff Lane, but an active man and a porter.
Now post and pair, old Christmas's air doth make, and a giggling Sally, and what you who, 'tis one of my two sons, card makers of Per Alley.
Next in a trice with his box and his dice, Mac Pippin, my son, but younger, brings mumming in, and the knave will win, for it is a costermonger.
But New Year's gift of himself makes shift to tell you what his name is, with orange on head and his ginger bread, Clem Wasp of Honey Lane 'tis.
What it are you tell? It's our jolly Wassall, of the 12th night more, me too. She works by the L, and her name is Nell, and she dwells in Threadneedle Street too.
Then offering he with his dish and his tree, that in every great house keepeth, is by my son, young Littleworth done, and in Penny-rich Street he sleepeth.
Last, baby cake that an end doth make of Christmas, Mary Vena, is child Roland, and a straight young man, though he come out of a crooked lane.
There should have been and a dozen, I ween, but I could find out but one more. Child of Christmas, and a log it was, with I them all had gone o'er. I prayed him in a time so trim that he would make one to prance it, and I myself would have been the 12th, or hot log was too heavy to dance it. Now, Cupid, you come on.
you worthy wights, king, lord, and knights, or queen, and ladies bright, Cupid invites you to the sights he shall present tonight.
'Tis a good child. Speak out. Hold up your head, love.
And which Cupid
Oh, do not shake so, Robin. If thou beest cold, I have some warm waters for thee. Here.
Come, you put Robin Cupid out with your waters and your fistings. Will you be gone?
No, forsooth, he's a child you must conceive and must be used tenderly. He was never in such an assembly before, forsooth, but once. At Warmall Quest, forsooth, where he said grace as prettily as any of the sheriff's inch boys, forsooth.
Will you peace, forsooth?
And which Cupid.
Aye, that's a good boy. Speak plain, Robin. How does His Majesty like him, I pray? Will he give 8p a day, do you think? Oh, speak out, Robin!
Nay, he is out enough. You may take him away and begin your dance. This it is to have speeches.
You wrong the child. You do wrong the infant. I appeal to His Majesty.
Like a jubilant
Yay! Well done, boys, my fine boys, my bully boys. Nor do you think that their legs is all the commendation of my sons, for at the artillery garden they shall, as well forsooth, use their guns.
And march as fine as the Muses 9 along the streets of London, and in their brave tires to give their false fires, especially Tom, my son.
Now if the lanes and the allies afford such an activity as this.
At Christmas next, if they keep their word, can the children of Cheapside miss?
Though, put the case, when they come in place, they should not dance, but hop.
Their very gold lace, with their silk would 'em grace, having so many knights at the shop.
But were I so wise, I might seem to advise so great a potentate as yourself.
They should, sir, I tell ye, spart out of their belly, and this way spend some of their pelf.
Aye, and come to the court for to make you some sport at the least once every year, as Christmas has done with his 7th or 8th son and his couple of daughters dear.
And thus ends the Masque, with no preparation as per usual for a second look. Well done, everyone. Fun times had by all. Though I think some of us may have found that quite traumatic because many of us have encountered many a theatre mum in our time. And Venus, there were moments there of genuine, I don't know, I would quite go so far as say PTSD on my part, but there were certain moments where I was going, oh God, I've been in this room. Please, dear God, let it end. Please, no. And Cupid was doing so well until you interrupted.
I know.
I mean, poor Cupid.
I know.
And it's like Christmas, you know, he's the professional theatre maker, and it's like everyone else, I don't know where my prop is. Oh, for God's sake.
Yes, and also that moment at the wardrobe call, you know, I'm sorry, I don't like this. It's not right. It makes me look fat, does it?
It's going,
Oh yeah, people whining about their costumes. Don't even get me.
I'm just thinking, actually, I'm going to rewrite this for my students' Christmas show next year. I'm going to do a contemporary version of this.
Excellent.
Because the bones are really strong. I mean,
they're really strong and very transferable.
You can sort of step away from all the songs which we've sort of done things with, because of course the songs are all sort of effectively functioning as a walk down announcer for a dodgy fashion show, isn't it? You can see them. Here is Wassall in his finest robe of X, and look at him strut his stuff, and he does a little. You know, and they all do a little turn, and it's just, you could do that with all sorts of music cues and things, couldn't you?
There is a very fine art in the walk down. Very fine art. Not looking down at the steps. I've done quite a few of them, been a few wicked queens in my time. There really are, the quick change. They're better than the whole show sometimes, aren't they? Really fun.
Yeah, everyone gets a new costume, everyone's doing their thing. And of course, they're all appealing to the king. And at the time, it would have been, the monarch would have been there, presumably. I don't actually know that much about the history of this particular masque. But, it was a court occasion. And people do dry before the monarch. It's not unknown. The Elizabeth definitely once or twice had to nudge, said, well done. Well, that's fine. That's okay. Move on to younger performers. And I say it's an interesting question because some of these are professional performers. I think Cupid is Christmas rather is and presumably Venus are actual actors. And brought in for the occasion because you can't expect royalty to act. I mean, it's quite wrong for them to act. It's most important that they're not allowed to be good because that would be gauche. They're allowed to be good dancers at a masque. They're not allowed to be good performers because that's beneath them. That's for the players. Eric, then Alan.
This is basically like Christmas sort of going, well, never work with children again thing, and then he's like, he kind of just gives them a chance, and then decides, well, maybe next year I'm going to do this as a solo show. Or something. I don't know what happens in like the sort of life of the show after the show, but I like to think that he's kind of preparing for next year.
Alan,
just wonder, in fact, whether Cupid would also have been a professional on the basis that that person cocking it up is key to the whole thing.
Yes, you can't. You've got to cock up correctly and on cue, as opposed to just cocking up. Yeah, and there's a big question actually about most of these performers. Is this your standard court masque with lots of the nobility involved, or is it actually they're all children playing these other minor roles, and they're coming out of the choir schools and the boys' company or something along those lines? I don't know. I haven't done any research on this particular one. We're very behind on our work on masques, and this is a mid to late masque, so we haven't even done. We've done a few of the early Ben Jonsons, but we haven't really filled in the gaps up to this one. We just keep doing it because it's fun and it's Christmas, and we don't have many Christmas plays. We've got pretty much none. It's almost they don't do Christmas properly, so
they don't
connect. And anyway, Alan, then Susan.
Yeah, I mean the other thing was you said this was Ben Jonson.
Yes.
And I mean it's interesting because it's a nice, simple vocabulary. It's not convoluted sentences.
Well,
it's
sometimes
not
Ben Jonson. No, you're being unfair.
Excessively wordy.
No. You're always knocking Ben Jonson for certain things. When he does do this, he just also then writes a lot more in other things. Ben Jonson spends most of his time attacking the scenery because it's like everyone comes there and leaves humming the set, and he's always very annoyed. But yeah, no. Ben Jonson does excellent comedy business. It's just he also writes an awful lot of additional comedy business, and then you lose the will to live. Susan.
I've just been to a talk this very week about Elizabeth I's progress when she came to Norwich. And it was fascinating, although it was an hour into the talk when he actually said who the actors were performing this. They were the schoolboys, and it was mainly people of the Low Countries, the Flemish, the strangers, as we call them in Norwich, who came to teach us to dye and weave. They were by far the more talented performers because they had to get these things on so fast, didn't they? And it went horribly wrong, and the weather. Oh yes,
it rained. The weather was terrible. We haven't done it yet, but it is imminent actually that we will do that whole part of the progress because there's lots of good performance pieces about it. There's lots of good accounts of it. There's all the stuff they would have performed because they published all of it, or it survives in various forms. So we are going to do it sometime soonish if I get my act together over Christmas. thing to do over Christmas. All of those royal progresses, they're not actually difficult for us to do because they're not very long. It's just disentangling them and getting them prepared is just it's just a logistical nightmare.
Don't have enough boats because they were on the river, weren't they?
Well, they're all over the place. That's the nature of these things. You'll have things in different site-specific locations and stuff. And if it's outdoors and it rains, you're a bit screwed. We have this with pageant. Actually, very few bits of civic pageantry do actually get cancelled. It's quite rare. Lord Mayor shows, considering they're in late October, early November by our calendar, it's amazing they didn't get cancelled more often than they did. But only a few of them ever did because of weather. Anyway, any other thoughts about Christmas's Masque? David?
Yeah, I was just thinking, going back to Ben Jonson, it's a pity for him that Christmas cards weren't invented, because he would have made quite a good Christmas card rhymester, I think. All of the little couplets in this, he was churning them out very quickly. It's more like the way he writes in his poems than in a lot of his plays, I think.
Yes, and it's also, you think of the number of dedications he wrote for people, all of which are actually quite similar. There really is a sense of, modern writers writing for blurb on books of going, it's the best novel of the year. He basically he got paid, he wrote stuff. So you can't really trust anything he says about whether he liked the work of other writers, because it seems he just did it on demand. And as they all did, it was a few pennies here and there. Any more for any more? Okay, that's it for Christmas's Masque this year. But who knows? Maybe next year we'll do. We won't do this one again next year, but we'll probably do one we've already done before, because there just aren't that many really short, silly plays to do for our Christmas party. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. I could come more than once a year.